everybody, and welcome to The Art as Well. This is Series 2, Episode 10. I neglected last week to mention that Brenda Moore-McCann, who very kindly stepped in, she was due to be on this Saturday. And at the last moment, Michael Harding, who everyone knows was due to be on our first episode of the year, had to opt out because he had a detached retina and he had to go into hospital to have that looked after, which he has done. Now, I'm only saying that now because he made it public on his podcast. So I know he doesn't mind if I actually spell out why he missed it. But anyway, that's the reason. So because it's a visual thing, he wants to leave it for about 4 weeks or so before he comes on air with us. So Brenda very kindly stepped into that. And today we have another artist, Paddy Critchley, and we'll talk to him in a second. Now, before we do that, I want to mention one other thing, and that is I have made contact with a lawyer who's a copyright and IP specialist. And I've always in the back of my mind thought that artists, they're always asking questions like, if I put something up on Instagram, can it be taken? You know, do I lose copyright to this? And it's a very interesting point because there are some who say you do. Equally, I've heard that if you put something up on YouTube, you lose your copyright to it. All right. So these are issues that should be of concern to artists. And I believe certainly are with some artists who've had their work misappropriated, you know, shown on someone else's as if it's their own. So there's all of these issues. What can you do about it? So I have this specialist who's agreed to come on and do a full episode with me. Now, at the moment, she's engaged in a huge sort of literally multinational copyright issue and doesn't want to talk to us for about 4 weeks. So that's grand. So I'm reckoning maybe after Michael Harding's interview with us that she'll be next online. But I think it's going to be really, really useful to a lot of people, whether it's in the written word, in composition, art, everything. I think it's relevant to you. And so the reason I'm mentioning it today is because I would like you all to please think about sort of questions that you'd like to ask that are relevant to your particular practice, okay? What I don't want is to suddenly announce, oh, we've got this wonderful, you know, expert on copyright and intellectual property coming on, and you're saying, oh God, what was that thing I was going to ask, all right? So please do make the most of this particular opportunity. And I'd like you to literally start emailing me from today, why not? And I'll keep a record of them all, of issues that concern you regarding copyright, all right? And just if anything that occurs to you, write it down, send it in to me between now and when we're going to have this woman on, which will be about 3 or 4 weeks' time. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. But even more so, looking forward to talking to our guest today, Paddy Critchley. Now, Paddy was born in County Laois. He went to Limerick College of Art. He's fresh out of there. He's only 23 years of age. But yet already he's had quite some success in terms of his exhibition of his work. So let's go straight down and say hello to Paddy. Good morning, Paddy. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
How are you doing?
Good.
So are you in Limerick now? Because I know you have studios there.
Yeah. So I'm based in Wickham Street Studios in Limerick. No, this actually isn't Wickham Street Studios. This is the back shed turned studio in Laois because I've been in Laois last week and I'll be here next week teaching a work experience to level 6 class in Abbelikes.
And I believe you're doing that with Bridget Flannery.
Bridget Flannery, yeah. So Bridget's taking the level 5s and I'm taking the level 6, and we're trying to put them through their paces. And we're just working on a kind of a brief with them. Started last Monday, finished next Friday, and it's a pretty kind of like intense 2 weeks.
And is this for people who are going into to study art?
Yeah, it's kind of like maybe a lot of students leaving secondary school before they go to college. Might give them a little bit of time to think, or maybe develop a portfolio. People coming back to study art, it's kind of maybe an entry into that. But it's a brilliant course that they run over in Abbelikes, and me and Bridget are certainly having great fun over there.
Very good.
Teaching for the 2 weeks.
So send her our best, won't you?
Yeah, we'll do. Yeah,
she did a wonderful episode with us not so long ago last year.
Texted me there this morning and said, I think she's going to miss it this morning, but she's going to catch up later on.
That's right. She did say that to me.
Yeah.
So Paddy, it would be fair to say there's paint in your blood. Yes. Would I be right?
Yeah.
Tell us why.
Not in the kind of fine art painting sense, but my father's a painter and decorator.
Yes.
And I started painting with Dad when I was 12 years of age. Any holidays from school, summer holidays, a few days around Christmas, Easter, honey break I was getting, or if we could get maybe a Friday off school to go and finish a job or something. But yeah, I've been painting since then, I suppose. My grandmother, I used to paint with my grandmother as well when I was very young and that. So I was always interested in painting.
Yes.
And then left school, went on, studied in Abbelecks, and then went to Limerick. And so and it's always been kind of painting that I've been interested in.
And earlier on, I was just looking at some of your brushes, and you still have some decorating brushes that you use.
Yeah.
And you're not alone, because you're not alone, because Robert Balla was showing us some of his bits and pieces, and a lot of it is decorating implements.
Yeah, I kind of like that, and I suppose with a lot of brushes, I have a few over there I'll show you later on, but a lot of the time I kind of just prefer them. They're cheaper, they're as good, and there's different types I use for different kind of I suppose jobs that they have. But I kind of like sometimes buying brushes and maybe tying string around them to make them more stiffer, or I kind of love those brushes as well.
No, it's interesting, because I think when you experiment like that, you can get effects that you'll never get traditionally.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I remember Robert, just mentioning him again, he was using a badger hair brush to stipple, and he said people confuse it with airbrushing. They think I airbrush my work, but I don't. He uses this particular brush.
Yeah, definitely.
Very interesting. So but you didn't go into business with your dad then?
No. Well, I suppose that's actually still probably paying the bread and butter. I haven't got away from that too much.
All right. So you lend the odd hand, do you?
I do lend the odd hand, and even I just before the Christmas I was painting in the Limerick City Gallery. Aidan Barry has got a show on there at the minute, so I was painting in there as well. But look, if it's not this painting, it's that painting. It's have to pay the rent too,
Of course you do. And tell us about Limerick, because you the studio's down there, and it's a bunch of students in Wickham Street, and it's called the Wickham Studios. How many people are there, and what's the background to that setup?
So I think it's running 15 plus years. It's a lot of people say came from the college. Different. There's a range of kind of age groups and things in there, but Tom Pendergast kind of runs it. There's about
who's he now?
Tom Pendergast is a kind of very interesting guy. He spent a lot of his life in New York, and actually had like a record label over there. Came back when he was older and studied painting in the college, and he kind of runs the studios now and paints. But
all right,
he's a very interesting guy. But there's a lot of students would have come before me in the college are in there, and Cyan Costello, she was looking for the link. I don't know if she's here today. She's across from me there, and it's a good old spot. And I guess it's a very much a painter's studio. Everyone in there is a painter, but it's great to have a space, really, because I was quite lucky. I got a space there 2 months after leaving college.
Did you?
Like friends of mine, I know Jock's in here today. Jock's son, I went to college with, only got a studio there recently, and it's nearly a year out of college, and that's kind of people I've heard of that got a space. So I guess just the way Ireland kind of is at the minute, like if you can get a house, you're kind of away with it, but trying to get a studio space to make work then is another kind of it's crazy. But,
and I mean, at the moment you're working at home there in a sort of a corner of the room. I mean, is how important is it to have a separate studio and to be surrounded by fellow artists? Is it important to your practice?
It is. Well, it's having just space to work at, and like I couldn't really work in a bedroom because the place would just be a tip and there'd be paint everywhere, and I'm quite messy when I'm working, and as well as that, it's not, you can kind of get away into a space. You're not in the one room all day. I suppose that would kind of, well, if it works for you, it works for you, but that would just drive me. I go crazy.
I know.
But yeah, and I guess it's nice to have painters around just to talk to about painting and just get to be curious about painting together and just kind of maybe share ideas and also that kind of thing of telling people maybe if there's something going on that they might know, and just it's nice. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
And you submitted a work to the RHA this year, didn't you? Or last year?
Last year, yeah.
Last year. And that did rather well. Now we're going to see a copy of it, but can you just tell us about it a bit?
Yeah.
And what it won, because it did win something.
Yeah. It won the deVere's award for art for significance. It was it was a really interesting kind of project that I done, and I guess we'll talk when we're talking through the PowerPoint. We'll go into further detail, but a lot of work I make looks at things like theatre, very dramatized. But I'm very interested in Beckett, and I was kind of researching Waiting for Godot, and it led me to this point, but. It was great to a lot of that work I had made, and it was through COVID. I didn't get to show any of it. Like we'd no degree show or anything. We were hardly in the college. In our final year, 2 days a week before Christmas, 2 months out of it after Christmas, and 4 years got back in for. So it was kind of.
That's a shame.
It was not a very good experience to kind of leave college that way. But look, we got through it or whatever, and you just kind of have to. That's what you have to do. But
I know
it was that for me. It was brilliant just to be able to be kind of to get my work out there, and just kind of.
Yeah. And tell us about a residency. You did a great residency that had a lot of impact on you.
It did.
Was that last year? Late last year?
It was in October. Yeah.
October. Yeah.
I went to. Basically, I went to Lisbon. It's just across the river in Lisbon, a place called Barreiro, with Paddy Studios, and that was fantastic. Yeah, it's just allowing me to get. I had a break from college or whatever, but I was making work, but I got to get. It was a beautiful space, brilliant light, and it just 24-hour access to a studio, and there was people there, and I made a lot of work, just within the month, kind of like, but. Yeah, we were even talking about your image for the art as well. Like,
that's right. Yeah,
it's a beautiful country as well, and I guess kind of opened up my eyes to. I was making a lot of logbooks and I suppose painting diaries. I was kind of thinking of them as, but just like recording light that I was seeing during the day, or if I was walking, and different colors and how the shadows because it's such a beautiful. It's a different kind of light.
Yeah.
And very blue sky, but yeah, I was just kind of fascinated by it. But it kind of impacted how I'm working now. I'm working on kind of on paper again and making very quick kind of gestural, just looking at color, and that kind of informs painting.
Yes.
That kind of thing of a painting diary, nearly.
I know. Yeah. So, Paddy, what's your typical day? When you're working in your studios in Wickham, are you an early bird, or do you kind of?
Depends on the time I'm getting. Like if I have to work, I'll be in the evenings. Otherwise, yeah, they're kind of varied, to be honest. Sometimes I can go in and I won't paint for a while. I'll be just kind of have to go up for a smoke and then go out. But I try and keep the idea of the artist or the kind of painting diary just jotting down. And I suppose that kind of it's like doing a warm up as well for me. Like if you're going for a run or something, but it kind of just gets me thinking and gets me moving. And then I'll work on a piece that I'm working on, and try and keep a couple of pieces kind of going at the one time. I found that idea of as much as people keep their own diaries of what's going on, I try and keep the painting diary. Be it even if it's not in a diary. Sometimes they're just prime pages of books, but if it's an actual sheet of paper and I'm just recording things. That's kind of like a vital thing I'm finding at the minute.
Do you write, Paddy?
Yeah.
You do, yes.
Write a good bit, yeah.
And what about photography? Does that come into your practice?
Yeah. So painting, photography are kind of the main aspects of how I work. If I'm working from foot, I prefer not to work from a photograph. I prefer to work from life, but
Yes.
it's kind of harder to make work. But yeah, like say the last big body of work that I made all came from, I would find a space and I'd make kind of I refer to it as a stage with props, but they're still life kind of paintings, but and try and light them, set them up, light them, and I take like series of photographs. I work with analog kind of photography, so I'd have maybe 12 shots, and I'd work with them kind of bodies and see how they go and look through them and see what will kind of make a what's the photograph I take that'll make a good painting. And just try and make loads.
Yes, yes.
Try and be busy, you know.
I know. And do you seem to work on themes?
Yeah.
You know, I think at this stage, you know, I know I would normally do this towards the end, but I think at the moment it's probably a good idea because it might explain your work.
Yeah.
You know, as well, and that is to show some of your work. Okay.
Yeah.
And then maybe that'll be easier for people to comprehend where you're coming from. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Paddy. So talk us through this.
So this was, I suppose, a direct response to Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. And going back to what do I do in the studio? Like read. That's kind of a big thing I'm interested in as well. And I read Waiting for Godot, and not that it changed my life, but I really connected with this one piece of writing. And I suppose for a lot of reasons, like we're living through, it was early COVID that I read it, and lots of things waiting for something that's not going to end. Like last night we've heard it, maybe it's kind of ending, but this kind of thing of waiting for something that's not coming, lots of different reasons behind it. But basically, I made a series of work, and it was kind of stemmed from ideas around Waiting for Godot as well as kind of a direct response. But the idea was, when making it, how was I going to show this work that was going to maybe kind of bring the concept to another level, or where would it fit within the context of art that might bring it on? So I got in contact with the Dunamere Theatre, and I said I want to put on an exhibition on the theatre stage, kind of like instead of the gallery, and so yeah, basically this show it's called Waiting. But I kind of curated it so that there's 2 acts, and there's, say this is one image, there's a painting and 2 sculptures. And I asked, the tech guys were brilliant. I was looking for that very Beckettian kind of lighting, very kind of drama, dark, silent kind of a stage. And then there's an act 2 where the painting changes. Everything stays the same, basically. The painting changes and a different sculpture is introduced. Okay. So I was playing with that, thinking about this idea of the actual work was kind of nearly transcending into, they were becoming props or protagonists or actors within the actual theatre stage. Yeah.
Should I move on?
Yeah, maybe move on. Yeah. So this is like then act 2, as you think it. And yeah, like I suppose it's you can kind of see it's very influenced by Beckett in ways, which is something I'm kind of fascinated about, because I love reading, and a lot of my ideas, like we even talked about Michael Harding earlier, like a lot of things I'm interested in stem from things I read or what people say and stories. So yeah, this is, and from here then, even if you wanted to flick through, there's a kind of there's another few. These are just kind of like, I was looking at the 2 main characters, Vladimir and Estragon, and they stood for. And from this play, then we'll see them later. But it kind of stemmed, and I've been working on this kind of overall concept for about a year now. It's kind of diverged. It's come back to the same route, but this is kind of I suppose it's a good kind of a way of encapsulating what the work I make is about.
Yes.
So I'm looking at drama, art, how they come together, and I'm just trying to see maybe how can the work I'm making take on another kind of an aura or whatever.
So if you look at these 2, for instance,
yeah,
the stems, if you like, of the figures are wood. Is that right?
Yeah. So the kind of thicker part at the bottom is wood that I got from the Slieve Blue Mountains at home.
Yeah.
They're wrapped in plaster of Paris. I attached an actual rose and the stem of the rose into this and wrapped them with plaster of Paris. They kind of like have that kind of withered, almost decaying kind of thing.
Well, they're black, aren't they?
Yeah, the very tops are black.
Yes.
And they're quite they're very bony, I kind of think. But that's kind of even with a rose, they start to resemble a human for me. I guess like the flower, the rose, these things are always in kind of all of my paintings nearly. And they kind of are a huge metaphor for, I suppose, life. That kind of idea of that kind of ephemeral life. Kind of interest, which comes across in a lot of what stories are about, especially what Michael Harding and people speak about, is that just that kind of idea of stories, people, time, these kind of themes that they're kind of constantly in my work. And what a lot of things in the painting stand for come back or stem from these kind of different themes like time, people, stories. So this was the second sculpture then.
Yes. And what materials are you using there, just as a matter of interest, before we go into?
Plaster, roses, string, spray paint. That's actually here.
Is it?
It's kind of a high maintenance artwork.
Is it delicate?
It is very delicate. It's kind of like, there it is. You see it. It is quite delicate. It sometimes needs an extra spray if it's going to be shown. Wouldn't actually sell that. But yeah, it's fucking heavy as well. But, I'll put my back out now showing you. But yeah, that's kind of, I suppose I'm kind of interested in sculpture, but things like doing this kind of inform painting as much as anything, you know.
Paddy, could I suggest that there's a very dark side to some of your work?
Yeah, definitely.
And where does that emanate?
I won't touch the table now. Yeah, like a lot of things stem from, like, I guess the rose. What does the rose stand for people? Romance, maybe kind of love. I suppose for me, it's kind of more along the lines of like sadness, melancholy, tragedy. I wouldn't be the happiest person in the world. Kind of had a big kind of battle with depression and things. I suppose things like that kind of come into the work as well. But at the same time, I'm kind of happy that I'll allude to these things in my work. They're there, but I don't really want, like, I'm never going to say what something's about. I kind of, especially like if you think about theatre, different people might take different things from Peter's stories. That's kind of something I'm quite interested in.
Yes.
Within my work is the viewer's reaction to the work, or how the viewer interprets or reads maybe things within.
So you don't really want to preempt what they think?
No.
Oh, all right.
They all have meanings for me. I'm looking at ladders.
Yes.
Have meanings for me. I could go on talking about what they mean for me, whatever. But I'm not important. I'm not interested in telling people what they mean for me. I'm addressing different things, but I kind of am interested in the viewer's interpretation of them.
Exactly. The response, yeah.
The response, yes, yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to some more of your work.
Yeah. So yeah, these kind of close up. I suppose the idea with just different angles and things is that if they are actors, like you think of actors on a stage, depending on where you're sitting, and this brought me to a completely different place in the residency, but I suppose different angles where, if you think of the artwork, where you, in regards to where you're sitting in a theater, different kind of things like that. I kind of think these images, maybe the point of these were to show it from different angles, was to show where you way back up the top of the theater, where you're sitting down in front of it.
And these are big canvases.
They are, yeah. This one is one of the smaller ones. This is 4 foot by 4 foot, but the next ones we'll see are bigger again. So Yeah, so these paintings then kind of stemmed from that work. These are all big. They're 5 foot by 4 foot.
Yes.
And I guess that's kind of a thing of, it was a pity of the time they were made, because I'm kind of, they're sitting there waiting to be seen, but you kind of have to see these in person to really kind of understand them, because they're quite big, like,
Yeah.
and they
Yes.
kind of take on that. They're kind of nearly sort of monuments in a way.
I love the fact that you've actually staged them in a theater,
Yeah,
as against hanging in a you know clinical environment,
yeah,
white
and
walls, etc.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And I'm
Right.
kind of yeah, and I'm just curious as to how they can, like, do they have to be in your white walled gallery? No, I don't really think. I'm just trying to think of maybe ways that does that stop them at a certain stage, and that's it. Whereas, can they go to another place
Yes.
that maybe suit a lot better than the conventional kind of way of seeing them, you know?
I know. I know. Yeah. Now this is the one that won the deVere's award. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. This
Yeah.
one, the Veers Award, and is actually I only heard recently it was bought and is traveling to New York. So yeah, there you go now.
Is it fantastic?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, well done. You'll have to get a photograph of
I
where
will,
it's
yeah,
hanging
yeah, yeah, definitely.
if you can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is smaller than the other ones. This is 70 by 50,
Is it?
70 by 50 or roughly. Which it's smaller, but the interesting thing, and it's kind of something I suppose comes up within the studio practice, but this kind of has a lot of different things going on than the bigger ones. You're looking at different ways of painting, and it's just, I'm kind of, I would refer to myself a little bit like a paint freak. Like, I just kind of love learning about painting or seeing, but like that, there's different things were going on in this painting than the big ones. Like, that's something I'm kind of interested in, just with regard
Yes.
to like technical approaches to painting and things. But yeah, this is the one that won the award. So
And I mean, I totally get what you say about people, the viewer making up their own mind and not trying to feed them with
yeah,
something that could be completely off, you know. But
yeah, yeah,
what's your intention there with the spoon, and which has obviously been used to stir paint or something?
yeah. Well, like, it stands for, like what we were talking about earlier. I've been painting since I'm 12, or it's been a huge part of my life, and I have a lot of memories. Even within that, you look at a spoon that's dipped in paint. If it's here and now, it has just been dipped in paint. If that's not touched in 100 years' time, does someone come along and say, "Oh, someone was doing it"? There's kind of got nearly that thing about time, whereas these roses are really fresh. Uh,
Yeah.
they're like beautiful roses you just bought. There's nearly an energy within it, whereas in the next painting, we'll see that I made these when the roses were dead. They're different color. They're withered. I think they're nearly nicer. They're nearly kind of more beautiful, but kind of and these then when these are all together in a place, it's I curated them so alive roses to the right of the room, dead ones to the left. But it's kind of has that
Yeah.
kind of alluding then to time, and
Yes.
like
Yes. So how many pieces would you have had in this exhibition?
in this show there was six,
Six.
four big paintings,
Mm.
two small paintings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're wonderful. I mean, I just love the idea of the spotlight,
Yeah,
and how it affects the objects.
yeah, and even here you can see the kind of rainbow. Like, that the spotlight I was using was an overhead projector,
Hmm.
and it gave this kind of beautiful rainbow
Or the
um,
edges, yeah.
on the edges, and I wanted
Hmm.
to try and incorporate that into it as well. Like,
Yeah.
that was hard to paint,
You can
but
imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Beautiful.
like, yeah, and I get the glass jar is kind of something that's interesting as well, regards to time and old medicine bottles and things.
Yes. Hmm.
This is from my studio in Paddy Studios in Barreiro in Portugal.
Hmm.
So yeah, like, it's quite similar again. I built a stage, got the wood and built a stage, and I just kind of it was kind of crazy, because for 2 months before that I was obsessed with ladders, wood kind of ladders, really old wooden ladders, and I'm kind of there's something that I was just fascinated by them for some reason, just like
Yeah.
obsessed with them. But I wanted to paint ladders, and I walked into the studio, and the first day, just kind of walked in, looked to my left, and here was this ladder, and whoa, got excited. But so that was the main kind of prop, say, within this scene. And then I kind of looked at sourcing the other objects from the actual area. So like the mat was from the shop around the corner, kind of the jug likewise in a different part, and then the flowers were just outside the door on a tree of the place I was staying. So I'm kind of interested in just taking from the area. I didn't want to just go buying roses or whatever. They were kind of had a certain time and place I was using them.
Yeah.
And the best thing I found about this was I got to paint from life, because it's such a big space. I set up this stage and everything was painted from life. It was brilliant. And I just kind of found that brought the paintings onto another field altogether, because I'm finding it hard now to actually go back to painting from a photograph, because it's just this flat surface. You can get way more detail painted from life.
Yes.
But,
and I think also you're life changing.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Was that something that you were interested in too?
So like literally where the photograph was taken, if you can imagine, I have the camera behind me, way at the very back of the studio. There's just like 3 windows up at the top over a sliding door, and at like 5:30 to 6 o'clock, there was this just unbelievable light that used to shine in and just like penetrate straight down and just lit up the stage. So I used to be hanging around, like looking at the clock, waiting for this like I call it like the golden half hour to come in.
Yes.
You used to get this unbelievable light just, and then that's influencing like the shadows. Were nearly more important in the paintings than the actual objects. So yeah, and a very, very kind of like dramatized light. It was just, these things kind of just happen. It was brilliant.
So there's a painting behind the ladder.
Yeah.
That's an actual painting as against
that's
shadow.
That's a painting of the shadow. Exactly where the shadow lands.
So would you consider that the ladder to be an integral part of that? That's, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't stand alone.
Yeah, so it's kind of that, and that's kind of, say, trying to bring objects and paintings together, as much as the stage was a part of the actual show, and it was kind of showing both alongside each other.
Yeah.
And even I was, because I was interested in, like, this painting just over on the left was kind of flipped 90 degrees and painted where it was on an easel. So I was kind of painting around the stage, as you might imagine a stage would have an audience kind of maybe around it, and looking at the different viewpoints and angles, and then painting the actual shadow behind the stage was kind of that was very important too.
Yes. Okay.
These were more paintings as well. As you see on the left, it was different angle, and as well at different times of when the flowers were dying over the course of the month as well. That's kind of an important thing. I wouldn't change the flowers. I'm kind of interested in that process. Just these 3 paintings in the middle, and I guess that's kind of nearly back to studio practice. I love painting from life, and I love plein air painting. So these paintings were painted down the road in an old paint factory it's kind of closed down, and it's a great place to go to install work and things. But we used to get these trolleys. There's Pingo was the name of it. Pingo was like their done stores, but the gallery had a couple, or the studios had a couple of trolleys just for carting things around. But it was brilliant. I had like a mobile studio, I called it, where I was able to pack things up. So I had everything I needed to paint. I was able to strap the easel on top and just cart the trolley down to the place. And then I set it up, and you know, the kind of basket thing that comes out, I was able to open that up, and I had my little workstation, and I could paint away, and it was brilliant. But I made these paintings in a couple of hours down there, and just looking at things like light, color.
Yes.
A lot of them are quite quick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I have one here, I think, but like even I try and get out of the studio myself and paint like plein air. Just I'd spend the day out and paint. You see, often quite quick, but just they're kind of like exercises in paint.
Yes.
Looking at light, how light kind of just interested in light. But they're kind of things I do as they're kind of very important part of the studio practice. Just they inform what I do in the studio, because I'm able to look at things like light, color, painting outside, quick paintings. They're kind of just different exercises nearly that I do. So
yeah, okay. Now, is that the last one?
There's another.
No, it's not. No, there's it's sort of a close up.
That's just kind of a close up,
yeah, of the ladder. Yeah. That definitely goes back to your childhood, Paddy.
I know. I wonder. I'll show you in a minute. There's ladders here looking at me as well.
I'd say they are. Anyway, tell us about these.
These, I'm back to kind of studio, things I do in the studio. These were, so I had like the final weekend that I could paint, so that if I stopped Sunday, things were going to be dry for the flight home to unstretch things, roll them up. So I kind of went and had a mad weekend where I stretched 9 canvases. I think 3 were this size, a couple were bigger, and then there was a bigger one, something like that. But I set kind of like little nearly tasks to do. So these were painted between 9:30 at night and 1:30 in the morning on the Friday night. And they're very quick gestural. I paint one very quickly, maybe to take a quick break, come back, painting it, and they were painted. And I was looking at just very kind of technical things with painting, very quick gestural marks. Maybe you're only using 2 brushes. One of my brushes I brought home here, I actually made it where kind of like just made this brush that was a lot longer, so that I could kind of like stand back and look. But they're actually, I'll be going down just today to Limerick. They're being shown in Armstrong House for a month as part of a group show there.
Yes.
So it'd be great to see them now again in a space. So I exhibited these in Portugal, but they're going to be shown in Armstrong House. It's kicking off. I think it's opening today around 12 or whatever. And they'll be there for a month.
It's good timing.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing them back home now as well in a different space.
Just tell us where exactly is Armstrong House?
If people are familiar, Armstrong House in Limerick City, and it's just on the top of O'Connell Street. It's across from Arthur Key Shopping Centre, near the Hunt Museum. It's not far away. If people know where the Hunt Museum is. It's just down O'Connell Street on the left. But it'll be a good show. A few people in my studio are in there, and Amanda Coogan is in it, and a few people. But yeah, it's nice just to get to show them now.
So that's starting today, and it's going on for how long?
I think it's for a month. I'm not exactly sure when the closing day is. It's on an email now somewhere.
Yes, very good. Okay, I'm just looking at some comments. Yvonne asks, your colors are very muted, even the ones in Portugal. Would like to hear you speak about your color palette, please.
Yeah, my color palette in Portugal, as I worked through it, coming near the end, consisted of like white, black, and olive green, and that was it. And I suppose in a sense, because like I should show you, because yeah, it is interesting that you said it, because I'll show you the workbooks, because I was making the diaries. So I'd make a painting or 2 a day, and they're very colorful, and it was very interesting that I felt the need to kind of mute that color palette. And I think it was what the kind of, maybe in a sense, I would follow emotions in a way that these are the colors I felt right for the painting, things like that. The only like major colors within them are the flowers, and they're kind of quite lightly translucent, kind of yellows and oranges. But yeah, I'll actually just
show us that
here, because they're
get those out. And while you're doing that, Marianne says, I love the ladder paintings, very nice. Cheers. Love ladders as well. My grandfather was a house painter.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Well, I'll just actually turn this around. Like, there's a lot of paint and stuff here, but like, there's 2 ladders there that kind of like
staring at you.
Yeah. they're always watching me when I'm painting. So keep me on track.
How do you put up with it?
Oh, is he gone mad?
So look, while you're standing, do you want to give us a quick flick around your studio and just show us, and then go back to those
I will, yeah.
diaries?
You see, I can this
I know it's difficult. You might need to lift your.
I lift the computer.
Yeah, lift the computer.
Yeah.
And just go very slowly.
Yeah, I bring the wire with me here.
Yeah. This
is actually just something I brought home from Portugal. It's another painting I'm kind of working on.
Yes.
Oh, this is one that I just took out of a book here. This is a kind of thing I was making during the day. I'm trying to get closer in Portugal. So I was using colors like this and then resorting to the bare minimum as well. Yeah, it's kind of my messy sort of workstation. Just trying to be busy, but I'll just get this out of the way. Have these kind of drying. Can you see? These are kind of I done these just this morning, maybe one last night. These are things I do a lot just to look at.
Oil and paper?
Oil and paper, yeah. And I'm just kind of curious about colors. So I suppose I have to do a lot. I kind of do a lot of these and they kind of inform the work I'm making as well. I'm doing a self-portrait and I'm just really doing that to look at color.
Yep.
So I suppose even if some of the most recent work has been very muted, it's kind of I'm interested in color.
So Paddy, I've noticed there the big buckets of paint there. You're obviously not using dainty little tubes of paint, are you?
I actually am. I don't really actually use a lot of those buckets of paint, only maybe the odd time.
Yeah. Okay.
They're just things that stare at me as well, but they're handy to have sometimes. But normally I actually don't use them at all.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look at that book that you were talking about.
Yeah. Just prop up this computer.
Yep.
Put it like that, maybe, or something like that, and we aim it down.
There, that's about it. Yeah. That's good.
Now,
so explain what you have there.
So this is can you see that now? You can fairly okay. So this is just so a lot of the pieces would start off just kind of maybe a sheet of paper, or if it was canvas that I had primed, and I'd have loads of these all on the floor, and I'd maybe come into the studio, take one, maybe make a quick painting just with colors I was looking, then I just take it, put it down, maybe make a couple of them. But so this is, I just kind of made a book out of them, so you can see kind of they're stitched together, because I was wondering how could I compile them that was going to be useful.
I take it this is very heavy paper, or is it canvas?
This is all a canvas.
Oh, it's canvas. All right.
Actually, it's quite heavy.
Yeah.
You can kind of see this now. My stitching won't be the best, but it holds together. So that's kind of all I care about.
Sure.
But yeah, looking at different colors, maybe color palettes that I'm using, and see how they work together just on paper. Lines, marks, words, actually, kind of, because they're as important. Can you pull it towards you a little bit? We might get more of it in. This way? Yeah. Now we can see the words. Yeah. I don't even know what that says. The old man from over the sea. Yeah, which is a song from that Lancome sing. I don't know if you're familiar with their Irish folk group. No. Even a lot of music I'm interested in comes into, I could be listening to music, and that kind of inspires a lot of these works, even, which then go on to influence paintings. Yes. Looking at marks and lines. So yeah, I suppose the thing with these is just I like doing lots of them. What does that say there? I have no idea. Shadow play. Rory Gallagher, yeah. Oh, Rory Gallagher. Yeah. Yes. Jeez, you're too young to know him. Recently got a record. My brother got me a Rory Gallagher record for Christmas, actually. So did he? Yeah, I think this is kind of. I'll show you. We've got a bigger one here. Same thing. It's kind of. It's got that kind of bit of. Was it leather or something hanging around it? Yeah, your stitching is improving as you go along. Yeah, it is. It was actually. Yeah, these are just bigger, but the same thing. Yeah. I'll bring it that way, maybe. Yep, that's it. I was looking at doors. a lot of the doors around the place were boarded up. So the actual place was kind of a little bit dead. It had been a big industrial place under Alfredo and kind of collapsed, and there's a lot of kind of vacant spaces. It's fairly run down.
Yes.
There's a chair in the studio. A lot of these are just quite quick, simple, thoughtless, I suppose is a good word, things. Barrero. This was, so I went for a walk in kind of a barren wasteland of this industrial zone that's no longer used. I just kind of came back, and this is what I made, just reflecting on it, like.
Yeah.
Obrigado. That was the only really word I knew what meant, or
yes,
it actually just means thank you. So I was just saying thank you to everyone, but at least I was a polite kind of tourist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Owen McLaughlin says, I love the canvas book.
Thank you.
Or books, yeah. Yeah.
Cheers.
Brendan McCann says, very nice work. Your paintings have a sense of reducing objects to essentials in which shadows play an important role. Can see the affinity to Beckett with this and the theatrical lighting. Look forward to seeing how the work develops. Yeah, on that point, are you continuing that particular theme?
Yeah.
Or is that it and you'll go on to something?
No, I'm going to continue. I'm actually at the minute, I'm applying for the Agility Award 2. I want to make a body of work continuing on what I've been making. I want to include the ladders, because the ladders has been an object I'm interested in, but I want to continue that on again. But I want to make, that's going to continue now over the next couple of months. Hopefully make a bigger body of work again, kind of. But I'm kind of in. So with that, and like I suppose research is a big enough thing within the practice, but I've been kind of fascinated by Joseph Beuys and performance. I suppose it kind of goes hand in hand with things I'm looking at, but kind of there was Joseph Beuys, he's kind of got the I like America, America likes me, like something about that fascinating. So I want to kind of maybe see then, by researching the likes of performance art, things like that, how maybe that will influence the work. See where it takes me. But like the bottom line is, I'm going to be just painting, making paintings around this kind of overall theme again. Like,
very good, very good. Now there's a few other comments I'm going to read out, because in the YouTube videos they don't actually see this.
Yeah,
we can see it.
Yeah.
So if I go back, okay, that was Marianne. Love the paintings in that. I think this canvas book. Yeah, I love the canvas book. Some great paintings. Eilish, gorgeous color combinations. They really speak to those themes of melancholy and grief that you speak of. And Colin Eaton says, great to see the immediacy and intimacy of the canvas books.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, you've had a few tragedies, I know, in your life. Has that really influenced a lot of?
I suppose it does. It would have, I guess. A few friends like that would have done away with themselves and things, and I suppose as you go through life, you kind of experience these things. But yeah, I suppose it does, and like I suppose you don't speak about these things. It's just that's kind of the way life.
Well, that's the problem. People don't speak about.
Yeah, exactly, and it's like you go through and you get on with it, and so I kind of guess maybe it could. Like if you think of immediacy within the canvas books and that, I guess things like that have to come out in a way. If it's not speaking, it's painting. So I guess that kind of, and then my kind of my own life things. I suppose it's a way of speaking. It's just it's gestures mean thing. They come from a place. Even if you're looking at still life painting, you're painting hills. Like you're thinking while you're doing it. That's informing colors. It's informing marks, and everything kind of goes hand in hand. It's very kind of Michael Harding-esque nearly, where it's kind of idea of just the way, I guess the way he writes kind of in terms of painting is kind of interesting.
Yeah, great observation. I suppose you can't be but affected by what's going around in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be silly to say otherwise.
Yeah.
Jackie says, very impressed by the stitch. Yep, she likes her stitching.
Thanks, Jack.
Derek Cully says, passion versus pictorial effects. Explain balance.
Read that again.
Yeah, passion versus pictorial effects. Explain balance.
Passion versus pictorial effects. Well, I suppose 90% of Well, yeah, I wouldn't even say 90%. Pictorial balance. I suppose the bottom line is I'm a passionate painter. So a lot of the things I do, I want to be a better painter, and I just want to learn about paint, and I want to paint. Passions, I suppose they're nearly like a vehicle to make paintings. But it is just kind of a weird question, because without the other, I can't make it work. If I'm painting things I have no interest in, I can't really paint. So I guess explain the balance. So you're looking at probably 50-50 in a way that you can't have one without the other. But I guess if the finished painting isn't good.
Yeah, but I think the point really is that, you know, you can't be afraid to do something on the basis that there mightn't be a balance in it, or the colors mightn't be right. It's how you learn, it's how you find out things.
Exactly.
Lee Joanne McQuillan says, beautiful, simple and elegant composition at the same time. I love the color palette. I saw that piece in the RHA. It makes you stop in front of the painting and think.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
good to hear, yeah.
I think she was very impressed with that.
That's kind of the point of it as well. Without the actual painting, is to stop to think. That's Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask you one question before we go on to everything else, and that is, who's your favorite artist, and what work would you love to have hanging over your mantelpiece home?
Nick Miller, the painter. Yeah. And I suppose, like, was looking at some of Nick Miller's painting, like, I kind of would like to have them all. But I guess, you know, the mantelpiece probably isn't big enough for that. But this painting is kind of I'd like to have this. Like, look, as far as painters go, Nick Miller's definitely, he's up there. One of my favorites, at least. The things he paints, but it's just down to how he paints them, you know. It's just the use of paint within the canvas, and look at, like, light, dark, the color, his color palette here. Just, I'm kind of blown away by Nick Miller's work, especially, like, even the stuff he's putting up on Instagram at the minute. Just really love the work. But the first time I kind of came across him was the paintings he made from the back of his van, and there were, like, the kind of landscape paintings, and you had the van kind of framing it in. And I suppose even just the idea of taking it out of the studio and making a studio, like, in the van, and
mobile studio,
how we kind of approached it just kind of fascinated me. But someone I'd love to meet and just talk about painting, because just painting is, they're fantastic. But now trying to pick one's hard, because you'd want them all, like.
I know. Well, I was going through them, and I came back to it and I said, sorry, you better choose. I can't choose. They're very different, you know. It's not as if you could pigeonhole them and say that's his style, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, I think he kind of is like a painter who's very interested in painting. It's kind
of Dennis says, Patrick's very humble description, thoughtless paintings, is subconscious painting, in my opinion. Question mark, is it? Yeah, in other words, is everything premeditated, or is a lot of it sort of coming out channeled through you?
A lot of it, like that, what I was saying about listening to music. Sometimes it comes out, I'm listening to a song, I feel it there, but it's down, that's it, it's done. I kind of call it sometimes thoughtless, but I guess it's feeding into what I saw that day, what I'm feeling, what's the music. Am I dancing in the studio? I was listening to the Congos yesterday, kind of dancing away here. That might affect the mark that's been made and stuff. So I guess in a way they're kind of quite subconscious, But I'm not precious about them at all. So they just happen. If they're good or they're bad, they're just kind of cast aside or just stacked or after they're dry and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. I'll open it out to the floor now. But Danny says, great stuff, Paddy, and all the theatre aspects of it all. Loves the theatre aspects of it all. Yeah. All right. I've allowed everyone to unmute themselves. So if you want to ask a question in person or make a comment, simply unmute yourself.
No, just congratulations, Paddy. It's a pleasure to be introduced to your work.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I was away and I didn't see the RHA show, but I really will be looking out for you. I also share a great interest in Beckett. not always understanding him, but just he has always fascinated me. And I like the way that you are bringing painting into a theatrical setting. I think it's a very, very interesting idea, and certainly suits the kind of, because Beckett, of course, obviously was it wasn't just literature. He was quite very, very visual and intensely interested in art, and particularly painting, as you know. Yeah. So I'll be looking out for you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brendan. Sorry for putting you on the spot there.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
You're very good. You're very good. Anyone else like to say something?
Yvonne.
Yeah, Paddy. Sorry, hi.
Yeah.
You
Yes,
can
Yvonne.
hear me. Yeah, no, just as Brenda was talking there as well, I was thinking, would you maybe speak a little bit as to how you showed those paintings on the stage? Like, I just am a little bit confused. Do you expect an audience to be there, sitting, looking at it from different angles? Wouldn't that be, or did you do that? Because I think that would be very interesting, that if you let an audience in and keep them for, I don't know, 15 minutes in silence, and, you know, Beckettian kind of, and you're looking at the paintings. Is that maybe what you intend?
Exactly, yeah. And like, unfortunately, back to the time they were made in,
Pandemic.
I couldn't do that, but literally that was I was very interested in get people into a theater. Curtains are closed, opens up, there's no music, there's no talking, there's nothing. I'm kind of interested, do people get out of their seats and kind of walk down and start having a look around, or do people sit down and they're like, I fucked it, and they just leave because it's too boring. But then it closes, perhaps, and it opens again. And I'm kind of interested in, especially, do people sit in complete silence and have a look at this for 10, 15 minutes? What reaction is that going to get? Because I suppose even within the paintings, silence and time, you nearly need that. It's kind of as big a part as the actual painting. So I want to do that, and I kind of, it is down the line a thing I'm interested in doing, and I'm really interested in how people react to that, because I would absolutely love if people get out of their seats and go down and start walking around and having a look and this kind of thing, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks for that, Yvonne. Anybody else like to ask a question?
I'm just like to get back to the ladders, Paddy, and just thinking about them. I think they are very, very interesting objects. Would you think your interest in them maybe at a deeper level is something to do with a different way of seeing? Like, you know, when you're up a ladder or when you're at the bottom, you have one point of view. When you're up at the top, you have a different point of view. It seems to me like a great metaphor for the act of looking and seeing.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose living, when you get to the top of the ladder, are you wiser to what you've seen or where you can see it from?
That's right. Yeah.
I think that's why I'm interested in it. I'm interested in just because of the form, and if you throw a light from an angle, shadows it makes, lots of different things. But I guess, yeah, what you're after saying, that metaphors and things that I are kind of conjured by are definitely an important part.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But shadows certainly play an important role in your painting, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because it's the thing, but it's not the thing, but it's
exactly. Yeah.
It's like quite an actually hard thing to word nearly, is that kind of the thing versus the shadow, and kind of thing going on with them.
Sure. No, it's very interesting.
Thanks, Brenda.
Some of the ladders, like these ladders, could be 60 years old, and if they're used 5 days a week, it's an interest in the places they are, even people that are on them, and you know, it's kind of got that. Yeah, they're kind of like a thing within. So time happens, but they're a thing in it that I wonder if they could talk. Things they'd remember, and kind of
like a time capsule.
Yeah.
Maria Gabriella says, "Bravo, Paddy.
Thank you.
Silence and time to appreciate a painting."
Yeah.
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
Malachy says, thanks, Paddy, for generously sharing yourself and your technique. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Catherine says, they don't make ladders like that anymore. How true is that?
I was actually looking on Dundee for ladders because they're the
Yeah.
ones that kind of that fold out but have a little bit of a workstation.
Oh, yes.
They're just great to place maybe like a jug of flowers or something on it. But
yeah,
I've been trying to find them. Oh my God.
Oh, you'll get them in aluminium, but you won't get them in anything else.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Ugly things. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Listen, Paddy, you're a star. Well done. And like Brenda, I really look forward to seeing what comes out of you next. You know, and keep in touch with us, and if we can mention any work that, you know, exhibitions or shows that you're involved in the future, we'd be delighted to continue the relationship with you.
Thanks a million, and thanks for having me on.
Not at all. So look, everyone, thanks for joining us this morning. I hope you enjoyed it. We're doing the same thing again next week. And just to mention one more time that we are having an expert on copyright and intellectual property in an episode dedicated to that specifically in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So please do send in your questions so that we're well armed and we can make the most of the generosity of this particular expert. Just send me emails about it, okay? And look forward to seeing you all again next week. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.